Chris, I can't hear you. Chris, I got no audio coming from you right now.
There we go. All right. Friends, I apologize. We've had some technical issues today, but I think we got it going now. All righty. Well, good evening, folks, and welcome to Hickory Ridge Concerts Virtual. I am your host, Chris Valillo, and we're so glad to finally get things going, first of all, and then to have a special Christmas program to share with you as well. A longtime friend of the show, Lee Murdock, will be with us in just a few minutes, and we're delighted to bring Lee back. It's been a long time since he's been on the show, and it's always a treat when he does. Also, want to give a shout out to our tech guy, Brandon O'Sullivan. It was not his fault, by the way, that this didn't start. I think that comes back to me. I also want to share that we have a new donation link. It's still through PayPal. It's paypal.me/Hickory Ridge Concerts. Any funds we raise go directly into the Hickory Ridge Concerts account, and you'll see that scattered throughout the show. Now, since Brandon is running the actual production, this means I'm free to interact with folks in the chat room during Lee's set. Please jump in there, say hi, tell us who you are, where you're from, and we will also look for questions to talk with Lee about during our dessert break at the end of the show. Now, before I do the song, to open up, I have to tell you about tonight's pie. If you were watching Facebook, you know that I was not able to actually find out what the pie was until the last minute, but here it is. And I have to do this very carefully. I don't want to dump a pie. This is a raspberry pie. I love raspberry pies, and I almost never get to have them simply because the baker of the family does not like fruit pies with seeds in it. So we'll be enjoying that while we discuss life and music and all sorts of things with Lee a little later on. Now, I always open up the show with a song, and tonight, since we're doing a special Christmas program, I want to do my all-time favorite Christmas carol. Now, it's not one of the older, more traditional ones. It's actually relatively new. It was written as a poem in 1872 in England by a woman named Christina Rossetti, who was the daughter of an Italian emigree and an English mother. Now, the poem shows up as a song in the English hymnal of 1906 with a melody written by Gustav Holst. This is In the Bleak Midwinter. In the bleak midwinter, frosty winds made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. Our God, heaven cannot hold him, nor the earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall fall away when he comes to reign. In the bleak midwinter, a stable place suffice. The Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ. Enough for him whom cherubim worship night and day. A breast full of milk and a manger full of hay. Enough for him whom angels fall down before. The ox and ass and camel who adore. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. What can I give? Give my heart. Give my heart. All right, there you go. I need to send that out to Sue Clear because I got a card from Sue today. By the way, thank you so much for that, Sue. And in it, she said, I'd sure like to hear you play In the Bleak Midwinter. Fortunately, I was already planning on doing so. All right, our headline performer tonight is a longtime friend of the show. He and I have crossed paths countless times. He has been a part of Hickory Ridge concerts, perhaps more than any other artist. And it's always a joy to have him here. Friends, please join me in welcoming Lee Murdock.
Hello there. How's
Hey,
everybody
Lee.
doing? It's great to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, and it's really a privilege to be here over the ether waves to sing some songs for you folks tonight. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So, Lee, what have you been up to in the midst of all this? I know all the musicians that I know are either in side projects or working on recordings or just trying to figure out how to live. What are you up to?
Well, we're doing a few Zoom concerts and a few concerts like this. I'm still teaching. I've got a number of students. I lost a few in the when we closed down, but I'm doing them over Facebook Live, and it works fine. And you know what's interesting? When this is all done, I think all those students are going to continue Facebook Live because they like doing it in their living room. You know, it's kind of, it's like, why do I have to get out? So it's a lot of fun that way.
Well, and I got to be honest. One of the things I love about live streaming is the fact when I'm done, I don't tear down a sound system. No. I don't go to a motel by myself, and I don't drive 4 hours home. Well, I go downstairs and I have a glass of wine.
There you go. That's very, very nice in that regard.
Yeah.
But I've also been doing a fair amount of woodworking too. I've been making these guitar stands, for many, many years, and
I do.
It's been. I mean, I've sold over 60 this year so far. So,
wow.
So
well, I was going to be asking you about that because I happen to know I don't have it anymore. I'm afraid I took it out on the road and beat it up.
Oh yeah, right.
It's a home stand, but they're beautiful stands, and I know that you're quite the woodworker.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So let me remind folks that we're going to turn Lee loose here and have him play a full set, and then we're going to take and sit down, and I'm going to eat pie, and hopefully, Lee, you've got some kind of pie.
We've got a beautiful apple pie that was just made this morning.
Yeah, there you go. And then while we're doing that, I'd love to chat with folks, say hi, and then put some questions together because while we're eating pie, we're going to open it up to chat with our audience. But in the meantime, friends, let's welcome once again to the Hickory Ridge stage our good friend, Lee Murdock. Take it away, Lee.
Thank you very much. Lake Michigan lay down after a long and wintry night. The wind and waves subsided with the hint of dawn's first light. On the bridge of this old vessel with the coffee steaming high, I think about her story and the years that passed her by. In the crucible of ore, it was then her keel was laid, an instrument of industry, a power staunch and staid, to clear a path for freedom through the ice-encrusted lakes. A figure of security found in her churning wake. As we slowly glide into this port, the frost hangs in the air. The bustle of the city streets in the distance you can hear. The pier sparkles festive on this cold December day when Big Mac comes to this harbor to give Christmas trees away. Through these years she served us proudly, her men and women too. Through ice and snow fair Windsor found her Coast Guard course was true. And in her twilight time, as her future becomes clear, she brings goodwill for those in need and a little Christmas cheer. Now it seems a small notion with the problems of today, building to a great crescendo, both here and far away. But you have to start it somewhere, building bridges from despair. It's our most important challenge, and Big Mac has done her share. As we slowly glide into this port, the frost hangs in the air. The bustle of the city streets in the distance you can hear. The pier sparkles festive on this cold December day when Big Mac comes to this harbor to give Christmas trees away. Now her sailing days are over and she's tied up all the time. The coasties still salute her, on her decks the folks still climb. But the mission isn't over, there is still much to do for the next generation of Big Mac and her crew. As we slowly glide into this port, the frost hangs in the air. The bustle of the city streets in the distance you can hear. The pier sparkles festive on this cold December day, when Big Mac comes to the cyber to give Christmas trees away. The pier sparkles festive on this cold December day, when Big Mac comes to the cyber to give Christmas trees away. Now that was a song that I wrote a number of years ago that celebrates Christmas trees coming to Chicago by the water. They're on Navy Pier. And this is a tradition that was restarted again in the year 2000 by the Coast Guard and maritime businesses in the city of Chicago to give Christmas trees to needy families. And over the years, they've brought over 25,000 trees to needy families. And they always come usually the first Saturday is when the trees are distributed to the Salvation Army and stuff to be distributed across the city. And usually I'm down there singing that song outside in front of the Mackinac. But this year they didn't have that, and I was able to sing it in the comfort of my living room. So now, this next song I'd like to sing for you is a song that talks about the maritime traditions on Lake Michigan, the holiday season, and the Underground Railroad. And this is a story that appeared in the Cleveland Plain Dealer about 1874 or 5. And it was a letter to the editor. And the person who wrote the letter explained that this is what they experienced when they were very young before the Civil War. This slave came up from Kentucky. His name was Sandro. And he came up and with his master and to Cleveland, Ohio. And he found an opportunity on Christmas Eve to escape because he heard that if you can get to Canada, you can be free. And he found himself east of Cleveland, out in the woods. And wouldn't you know it, a big snowstorm came up, and he saw this cabin, and he came up to the cabin. And this is what happened. And the protagonist, the person who wrote the letter, I should say, basically said that this one event resonated through the rest of his life, and he considered it a gift from Sandro. This is Sandros Gift. The celebration of Christmas was different on the frontier. No pageants and presents, no Christmas trees and such. Just a warm welcome break from the routine existence for family and friends, a time for the common touch. Long ago on Christmas Eve we heard a pounding at the back door. I peered through that portal into the stormy night. A face filled with fear peered through the flying snowflakes. His breath seemed to freeze as he stepped into the light. Oh, the wind blows through the cold biting snows. Oh, the wind blows through the streets high and low. Oh, the wind blows through the trees where the water flows. Oh, the wind blows, and the heart yearns to go. He said, my name's Sandro, I seek freedom, master you follow, I try to run. Can you up, Sandro, get to the border? Sandro alone here, no place to run. I hustled him inside and I sat him by the fire as the others gathered round to think what could be done. Reflected in his face was the shadow of slavery, conflicted with the hope of freedom yet to come. Oh, the wind blows through the cold biting snows. Oh, the wind blows through the streets high and low. Oh, the wind blows through the trees where the water flows. Oh, the wind blows and the heart yearns to go. A wagon was brought round and we headed into town, for the midnight mail train was bound for Buffalo. I kept him by my side as we climbed into the boxcar. Amid parcels and mail bags, the train began to roll. It was early the next morning when we reached that harbor town, nestled on Niagara, across from Freedom's shore. Sandro and a mail bag was loaded on a ferry. It carried him to a new life, away from slavery's door. Oh, the wind blows through the cold biting snows. Oh, the wind blows through the streets high and low. Oh, the wind blows through the trees where the water flows. Oh, the wind blows and the heart yearns to go. It's a cold Christmas Eve along the shores of Lake Erie, as I sit in the glow of the fireplace burning bright, and I think back to the time when I was just a young man, and the gift Sandro gave me on the cold wintry night. Now it's easy for a person to look the other way when helping is dangerous, uncomfortable and hard. Lend a hand to those in need, using words as well as deeds, and bring a glow to your life that is its own reward. Oh, freedom blows through the cold biting snows. Oh, freedom blows through the streets high and low. Oh, freedom blows through the trees where the water flows. Oh, freedom blows and the heart yearns to go. Sandros Gift. Now that story was given to me by a fellow named John Polachek, and it's very important for me to give this type of credit for people, because he was a wonderful director of the Dawson Maritime Museum in Detroit on Belle Isle there in the Detroit River, and he and I hit it off right away because we were into all this very interesting Great Lakes history, and he had just an amazing number of card files of all this different information, and he was able to give me that information. Now, I'm going to get away from the holidays for at least one song, and this is a song that I sang as I was a kid. You folks probably did too. You're welcome to join in your own way. I got a mule and her name is Sal, 15 miles on the Erie Canal. She's a good old worker, a good old pal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. We hauled some barges in our day, filled with lumber, coal, and hay. And we know every step of the way, from Albany to Buffalo. Low Bridge, everybody down. Low Bridge, for we're coming to a town. You'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal, if you ever navigated on the Erie Canal. We better get along on our way, old gal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. There's not another mule as good as Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. Get up there, Sal, here comes a lock. We'll make room about 6 o'clock. One more trip, then back we'll go, right on back home to Buffalo. Low Bridge, everybody down. Low Bridge, for we're coming to a town. You'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal if you ever navigated on the Erie Canal. Now where would I go if I lost my pal? 15 miles on the Erie Canal. There's not another mule as good as Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. I had a friend that got her sore. Now he's got a broken jaw, 'cause she let go with her iron toe and kicked him clear back to Buffalo. Low Bridge, everybody down. Low Bridge, for we're coming to a town. You'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal if you ever navigated on the Erie Canal. Well, you'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal if you ever navigated on the Erie Canal. Well, the old Erie Canal song, Low Bridge, everybody down. Thomas Allen wrote that, and he was not a canal worker. He was a songwriter on Tin Pan Alley. And it came out in 1913 as a testament to the closing of the original Erie Canal and the opening of the New York Barge Canal. So it's kind of one of those touchstones for my childhood that I hope will continue on for a long time. Now, as we've gone through this cloistering, if you will, I've thought back on some of the early songs that I sang a long time ago, and I thought I'd like to do one of those tonight. This appeared on my first album 40 years ago, and it's a sad song, but it's a song I'm going to feature in a concert I'm going to do next year, a new program called, get this, Fish Tales, Songs of the Fishing Trade. But this is an amazing work by the great Canadian songwriter Stan Rogers. When he introduced this song, he said, I was doing a big concert in Halifax, a lot of people in the audience, and at the end of the show, a very quiet gentleman came up and he said, you know that song about that ship, the Genie Sea? That was my experience. The Genie Sea. Come on, you lads, draw near to me, that I be not forsaken. This day was lost, the Genie Sea, and my living has been taken. I'll go to sea no more. We set out this day in the bright sunrise, the same as any other, my son and I, and old John Price, in the boat named for my mother. I'll go to sea no more. Now it's well you know what the fishing has been. It's been scarce and hard and cruel, but this day, by God, we sure caught cod, and we sang and we laughed like fools. I'll go to sea no more. I'll never know what it was we struck, but strike we did like thunder. John Price gave a cry and pitched overside. Now it's forever he's run under. I'll go to sea no more. Now a leak was sprung, that there'd be no delay. If the Genie say we're saving, John Price is drowned and slipped away. I'll patch the hull while you're bailing. I'll go to sea no more. But no leak I found from bow to hold. No rock it was that got her, for what I found made my heart stop cold. Every scene poured water. I'll go to sea no more. Now a leak was sprung, that there be no delay. If the Genie see we're saving, John Price is drowned and he slipped away. I'll patch the hull while you're bailing. I'll go to sea no more. My God, I cried as she went down. That boat was like no other. My father built her when I was 9, and he named her for my mother. I'll go to sea no more. Oh, sure, I could have another maid in the boat shop down in Dover, but I would not love the keel they laid, not like the one the waves rolled over. I'll go to sea no more. So come all you lads, and draw near to me, that I be not forsaken. This day was lost, the Genie sea, and my whole life has been taken. I'll go to sea no more. The great Stan Rogers wrote that. And thinking about the old times and stuff like that, when I first got involved in becoming a folk singer, and I was playing 12-string, but I was playing it like a regular guitar, and I would use it a flat pick and stuff like that. I was doing a little bit of finger picking, that type of thing, but not that much. And the guitar that I had was a beautiful Martin 12-string, and it was sounded great, but it didn't play in tune up the fretboard as many 12-strings don't. And so, but boy, in open tunings, it sounded just great. And so I tuned it to the tuning that I'm using now and have been using ever since, Dadgad, or as I now refer to it, we used to call it D-modal, but now I call it Deged. But that's according to Siri, it's Deged. One of the very important 12-string players in the folk music community was a wonderful performer and songwriter and writer, Bob Gibson. And inadvertently, I kind of picked up a little bit of his technique here and there, but he was wonderful in sharing songs. And this is one of the songs that I learned from him, and it's a favorite of my audiences, and I'm going to sing it now, the Great Lake Song. Sweet Mother Michigan, Father Superior, coming down from Mackinac and to St. Marie. Blue water Huron rolls down to Lake Erie, falls into Ontario and runs on out to sea. The Great Lakes are a diamond on the hand of North America, a bright shining jewel on that friendship border ring. It's a freshwater highway coming down from Canada, and all along the coastline you can hear the people sing. Sweet Mother Michigan, Father Superior, coming down from Mackinac and Sault Ste. Marie. Blue water Huron rolls down to Lake Erie, falls into Ontario and runs on out to sea. Hardy are the seamen on the ships that load the iron ore, hauling out of Thunder Bay, bound for Buffalo. And hardy are the fishermen, like their fathers were before. They say, bury me at sea when it's my time to go. Sweet Mother Michigan, Father Superior, coming down from Mackinac and Sault Ste. Marie. Blue water Huron rolls down to Lake Erie, falls into Ontario and runs on out to sea. Down below the quarterdeck, old men man the fishing nets, while up on the windy bridge, young men cursing to the wind. Up and down the Windsor Straits, the wiser mothers lie awake. They pray Our Lady of the Lake will bring them home again. Singing, Sweet Mother Michigan, Father Superior, coming down from Mackinac and Sault Ste. Marie. Blue water Huron rolls down to Lake Erie, falls into Ontario and runs on out to sea. Singing, Sweet Mother Michigan, Father Superior, coming down from Mackinac and Sault Ste. Marie. Blue water Huron rolls down to Lake Erie, falls into Ontario and runs on out to sea. Runs on out to sea. Runs on out to sea. Song written by Pat Daly, but made popular by Bob Gibson. Now it's time for me to take a little spray over the side here. And this winter weather, sometimes it kind of dries you out a little bit, you know. Now let's get back to the maritime holiday material. This is a poem that I put to music for the concert that I would do every year, the Christmas ship concert. And there's a poem that was written in 1888 by Charles Robinson, who was the Lighthouse Keeper at Portland Head Light in Maine. Bell buoy on Christmas Day. All the year long the bell buoy rings over the shoals in the outer bay, but never with sound as glad and clear as that which it throws to the window today. In autumn noons and autumn nights, it warns the vessels of hidden woes, and its weariless toil in the fog and dark kept faithful watch as it fell and rose. His clang of duty, not faint nor far, nor sharp and loud on an angry wave, for 12 long months has sounded out like a phantom bell or a sailor's grave. But its brazen tongue is glad this morn as it swings and rings on the sunlit bay. Is it trying to tell us that Christ was born far over the waves on Christmas Day? Kind of thinking what I ought to do next. Well, you know, it's not going to be that long, and then the new year will be here. And there's a poem that was written by C. Fox Smith. She was a deep water writer and poetry of sailing. About sailors and all the way around the world. And she did quite a bit of sailing herself. But I think her first name was Cecilia or Cecily, I'm not sure. But it was C. Fox Smith because back in those days, around the turn of the century, you couldn't do, a woman couldn't publish maritime poetry. You know, it just wasn't done, you know, so. But Bob Zentz, I heard him do this over in Mystic, and it's a wonderful tune that talks about the new year from the perspective of a sailor, and with a few additions. So let's put it. Goes like. Eight bells chimed from the forecastle, back from the chime to the poop. Tumbled out the port watch cursing, and the cock crowed loud from the coop. Oh, the sea was as bright as a mirror, and the moon was shiny as steel, when Ginger left aft at midnight for to relieve the wheel. Well, he spat on his hands as he took it, in the course which was full and by. Happy New Year, says Ginger. Oh, the same to yourself, says I. Here's a bit more meat on the lobscouse, a few more plums in the duff, a few less cakes on the uppance, and a bit more smooth with the rough. Here's grub whenever you're hungry, grog whenever you're dry. Happy New Year, says Ginger. Oh, the same to yourself, says I. Well, he just stood there wheeling. There really wasn't more to say, just a warm and a comfortable feeling at the end of a long, hard day. The wind whistled through the rigging, and the waves played along the rail. We all loped along just a-jiggin', like a couple dancing under a veil. The smell of a fresh cup of coffee mingled with the salt sea air. And her deck rose up, then settled back down to see the world didn't have a care. Here's a bit more meat in your lobscouse, a few more plums in your duff, a few less kicks on the uppance, and a bit more smooth with the rough. Here's grub whenever you're hungry, grog whenever you're dry. Happy New Year, says Ginger. Oh, the same to yourself, says I. Happy New Year, says Ginger. Oh, the same to yourself, says I. Isn't that cute? That's 8 bells. I'm going to keep going in this business of poetry put to music. And this is a poem written by Robert Louis Stevenson that I kind of put to a rock beat. As a matter of fact, I've played with many wonderful musicians over the years, and all different types of fantastic musicians. One of them was a fellow named Joel Simpson. And he said, when I heard this arrangement, it sounded like Led Zeppelin. Can you imagine that? I kind of went like, well, I guess. And in this COVID time, my hair this summer was real long. And I kind of looked kind of like Robert Plant, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it was not a good look for Lee. So, but this is a poem about being away at sea during the holidays, and it's called Blessed Christmas Morn. The sheets were frozen hard, and they caught our naked hands. The deck was like a slide, where a seaman scarce could stand. The wind was a nor'wester, blowing squally off the sea, and cliffs and spouting breakers were the only things to lee. We heard the surf a-roaring before the break of day. It was only with the peep of light we saw how ill we lay. So we tumbled every hand on deck in an instant with a shout, and we gave her the main topsail and stood by to come about. All day we tacked and tacked between the south head and the north. All day we hauled the frozen sheets and got no further forth. On a day as cold as charity, and in bitter pain and dread, for our very nice insatiate boys, we tacked from head to head. We gave the south head a wide berth, first there the tide race roared. But with every tack we made, it brought the north head close aboard. So we saw the cliffs and houses and the breakers running high. The Coast Guardsman in his garden with his glass against his eye. The frost was on the village roofs, as white as ocean foam. The good red fires were burning bright in every long shore home. The wiggled sparkled clear, and the chimneys billowed out. On my bow we stood the victuals as our vessel went about. The bells up in the church were rung with a mighty jovial cheer. For it's just that I should tell you how, of all days of the year, that this day of our adversity was blessed Christmas morn. And the house above the Coast Guards was the house where I was born. How well I saw the pleasant room and the pleasant faces there. My mother's silver spectacles, my father's silver hair. And well I saw the firelight like a flight of homely elves go dancing round the china plates that stood upon the shelves. And well I knew the talk they had, the talk that was of me, of the shadow on the household and the sun that went to sea. And oh, the wicked fool I see in every kind of way, to be here and hauling frozen lines on blessed Christmas Day. They lit the high sea light as the dark began to fall. All hands to loose the t'gallant sails, I heard the captain call. By the Lord she'll never stand it, our first mate Jackson cried. It's the one way or the other, Mr. Jackson, he replied. She staggered to get her bearings. Those sails were new and good, and that ship smelt up to windward, just as though she understood. As the winter's day was ending, with the coming of the night, we cleared that weary headland, then we passed below the light. And they heaved a mighty breath that night, every soul on board but me, as they saw her nose pointing again, handsomely out to sea. But all that I could think of in the darkness and the cold was that I was leaving home again and my folks were getting old. Yes, I was leaving home again and my folks were getting old. Robert Louis Stevenson, Blessed Christmas Morn. And I think I would like to do one more song, if that's okay. And this is a song. I'm going to be off the screen for just a minute. One of those stands that was malfunctioning. So I'll finish up with a beautiful poem that appeared in a little book published in 1942 by a person named Rachel Field. The book is called Christmas Time. And the poem is Christmas Goes to Sea. And I offer this as a way to recalibrate our feeling of the holiday season. What's important in this pandemic, things, family has become so much more important. It was always very, very important, but well, when we can't get together, it just makes that bond sometimes much stronger. So I'll offer you with this one, Christmas Goes to Sea. I saw fishing boats steer by, pluff-browed beneath the winter sky. It was Christmas, dusk was falling. The hull was crusted dark with spray. All around the water spread gray. Seagulls followed calling. But to the masthead gallantly was lashed a little Christmas tree, a lonely green-armed pledge of pine. No bright festoons or gifts it bore, but yet those empty boughs held more than blinking lights and tinsel for its sign. Such a grand sight it was to see that small seafaring Christmas tree high amid the shrouds and spars. And all night long I thought about it, salt-crusted, wind buffeted, and only lit by Bethlehem's brightest star. I saw fishing boats steer by, the proud beneath the winter sky. It was Christmas, dusk was falling. It was Christmas, dusk was falling. It was Christmas. Christmas goes to sea.
It's back. There we go.
Ha.
Oh, beautiful job, Lee. I got to tell
thank
you, I've just sitting here listening to the songs and seeing the lyrics in my mind,
Yeah,
right.
right.
As a visual.
Sure.
It's, the tree lashed to the ship. I mean, so many beautiful images there. Got to tell
Thank
you. So, take your guitar off, grab a piece of pie. Let's visit.
Okay.
Let's.
Okay.
We've got folks that are going to start to send us questions and such, and if not, you
That's
and I can
fine.
just visit.
That's fine. I'm just going to call to my wife, Joanne, and she's got to bring this beautiful pie over here.
That's right.
And she said she's going to bring the pie in a minute, so I guess I'm going to have to tap dance a little bit. And that's not a pretty sight. Good thing
Well,
you can't see my feet, so that's
While
all
you're
I can
waiting,
say.
well, hey, I was already stunned by the image of you as Robert Plant. So
Oh, I know.
I'm thinking a little bit shorter, but I suppose
A
I
little
could
bit.
see.
I was responding to somebody on Facebook.
Yeah.
So here's our pie.
Here's the pie. And come on in here, Joanne.
I'm trying
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
look
in
at
here.
that.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey!
Look, isn't it something?
So
Look at
Merry
that.
Christmas.
Everyone who thought
Merry
that
Christmas.
was Lee singing and talking to you at the same time,
Yeah,
really, that was me talking to you.
That's right.
On
We knew
Lee's
better.
page, so I sneaked in. So here's the pie. It's a Dutch apple pie. It's not very big, but it's very rich and good.
In other words, we can eat all of it.
That's right. Now, although Lee, I will point out that since my wife doesn't like raspberries, I get to eat all of my pie too.
You know, I've had raspberry pie a couple times, and it's really, is that red raspberry or black raspberry?
Red raspberry.
Okay.
And I like a tart fruit pie.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and boy, this is
How come
magnificent.
You never know what kind of pie
And I never get to have it, so it's a big treat for me. So excuse me a moment.
No problem at all. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a little taste of summer, right? Little taste of summer.
Isn't that a fact? Reminds me of, have you ever heard that Greg Brown tune, Canned Goods?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
been a while.
taste a little of the summer. That's it.
Yeah.
Just a line from that.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
So, yeah, what was interesting is the reason why Robert Plant came into the show, and normally it hadn't been happening in about 45 years in my show, but we were just watching this on, Amazon Prime or something. We were watching this documentary on Led Zeppelin, and here's a picture of Robert Plant, 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm looking at him, and he's got the long, straggly hair, and he's got a goatee
Yep.
and stuff. But I mean, he's not as slender as he used to be or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he's well weathered, And I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, am I seeing myself there? It's kind of like,
Robert Plant wishes he had Lee's beard.
well, there's that. So.
There you go.
Oh
There
my
you go.
goodness,
Have
that
we got a
looks
question
really
up here?
wonderful. There's a-
Let's take a look. Okay, we've got a question here from Orion calling, and
Orion Cooling,
he's-
yeah.
Okay, he's asking what really started your musical, journey. He says, I've been listening to you for 20 years. Where did it all
Yeah.
start at?
It started when I was 4 years old. Basically, I started singing, and I think there was this one, I referred to this story a number of times, a long time ago. I remember that we were having this big block party, and with the blankets and stuff in the backyard and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was used to being the center of attention, being 4 years old, and nobody was paying any attention to me at all. And so I went back into the garage and got a black plastic badminton racket, And I started walking around singing, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog." And everybody just thought that was this cutest thing. And you know what's interesting? Up in my studio upstairs, I have that same badminton racket. So that's what started me singing. And then it wasn't until about 11 and a half or 12 I started playing the guitar. But I always liked the stories and story songs. And most of us our age, you're in school, you're learning folk songs and that type of thing. And so, and of course, there was a period of time when folk music was really, really popular. And so that's where it started. And I've had so many fabulous mentors, inspiring performers, and many different, not just folk singers too, but people like Perry Como and Ella Fitzgerald and Scott Joplin, a fabulous composer. So,
if you look at the craft and quality of the work these artists are bringing to the table, even if it's a different style, you can learn a tremendous amount by listening and enjoying that stuff.
Right.
Now, I know from knowing you as long as I have that you did take at least one detour into the world of rock and roll, did you not?
I did. I was basically,
Confess.
basically what I did was when I went to college, I was a rock guitarist in high school, and when I went to college, I wasn't allowed to bring my guitar, so I was borrowing people's guitars, and they had acoustic guitars, and I played my college buddy Bruce Baker. He had this beautiful, gorgeous Guild D25, and it was spotless. And if he still had it today, it would still be spotless because that's the way he takes care of his instruments. And I played that thing. He allowed me to play it, and I just got lost in the way that guitar sounded. And although I still like the electric guitar, I just became more and more enamored with the steel string acoustic guitar. So that when I came back to Chicago in '76, I decided let's try it in folk music because that's where my real love was. So I used to be a lead guitarist and that type of thing, doing all the Led Zeppelin and Johnny B. Good and all that type of stuff.
So you came by Robert Plant's lookalike, honestly.
I suppose, but I actually probably more Jimmy Page because he was a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Like me, although not quite as husky or robust, I think is the correct
good way to
physiological. So.
Yeah. So you are one of a group of artists, and I think of myself in the same category, of artists that don't just stand there and sing the songs, but you delve into the history and you bring those songs to life and put them into context. To me, I think that's so important. So when you've done that, I know you spoke about learning songs from different people, but did you spend time researching this material, or were you involved interviewing and doing folklore work? How did you come up with this body of knowledge about the Great Lakes music?
Well, if you're in the Midwest and you're singing songs about ships going down, you have to give people some kind of a context here. One of the easy ways of answering that question is the songs I do are so weird I have to talk about them. So just kind of get lost in the magnificence of the beautiful work that was accomplished here up on the Great Lakes. And I just happened into the Great Lakes music because like when we first met, I was doing some Great Lakes stuff, but I did all different types of ragtime and blues and that type of thing, and some popular songs, that type of thing. But it's and I mentioned John Polachek during the show, and it's the historians that have really given me the foundation for being able to bring the songs to present to the audience and give them the idea. Some people say, well, there was one time there was a mariner in the audience, and I think he worked for Great Lakes Shipping, and he came up after the show and he said, "So how long did you sail on the Great Lakes?" And I said, No. You do not want to put me on the wheel on a sailboat because when you do that, the wind dies completely. I think Mother Nature is saying, you know what you need to do? You're a singer. You supply your own wind. But You know,
Like
I said, no.
that John Gorka line about I'd rather sing about being a working class person than actually live that life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's very good. But what I was able to do was to be able to capture the spirit
Yeah.
of the working sailor, and that's been my life's work, and not just from a long time ago, but also the present day sailors too.
Yeah. Now, there was a question, and it was from my wife, the pie baker. Great pie dear, by the way. She asked, did you actually grow up around the Great Lakes? Was there that kind of direct connection with you and the lakes, or did that come
Not
later?
really. I'm going to give Joanne.
I can't hear anything but Lee's side of the conversation.
Yeah.
And he can't hear all the Facebook comments.
Right.
Hi, you look great, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh,
The question is, I grew up in suburban Chicago, but my grandmother lived right on Lake Michigan, and so we would go in and see her, periodically throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And it was I didn't really have that much of an understanding of the role that the Great Lakes played because of that, because it was all just kind of like fun and games. It wasn't the working class situation that was in the even 40s, 50s, and 60s, early 60s, that Chicago was in downtown. So
yeah.
So wait
I
a minute,
remember-
wait a minute. Oh, go ahead.
I lived in Michigan for a while as a kid, and we would know about things like ore boats, and I actually got up to the locks to see them once or twice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But having a real understanding of how important that commerce is and the depth of work that goes on the Great Lakes and the waterways of America, I mean, it's truly staggering.
it is.
Lee
It's
had
the
no
lifeblood of the
idea
nation.
when he started, but we've gotten really deeply involved with it. But you know what? I'm looking at the screen here, and it says you're in the show, and so I must be on TV. So I got something I gotta say. Hi, Mom.
I know she's watching.
Okay. Let's see, we've got another question here. One of the things I love about you, Lee, is that you are always so kind. As a professional musician, I've not always had that reaction at events and other acts.
Oh.
Who or what inspires that kind of demeanor? And I will also say that, yes, that's one of the reasons why I enjoy working with you as well. You're a professional on all those levels.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is life's too short,
Yeah.
and we're all in this together, and we all work together, and so that's the reason why I come across that way. I guess is it goes back to my mom and dad. You know, if you can't say something nice, don't say it at all.
Well, the other thing I suspect it may go back to, I mean, we're probably about the same age, and I'm not going to announce on camera what that age might be, but we grew up in that era when folk music was a tremendous force. And I didn't want anything more than to sit around a campfire and play songs with my friends, and then it evolved to a whole different thing. But there was that sense of community in the music that we were raised with, and those of us that still play folk music, I think, still treat the music and the audience in that same way. I think that's part of what makes it a special form of music.
You know what really, you just reminded me of something that was very important that a good friend of folk music here in Chicago said a long time ago, Doug Miller, said,
Oh, sure.
folk music is music with community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. And,
Yeah. Well, and it's the music that tells the stories of what got us to where we are.
Yeah.
Joshua
It's the soundtrack of the melting pot of America. It's the soundtrack of the growth and development of America.
I see there's a question here.
Okay.
I have to ask if there's a backstory for the song Joshua Johnson.
And that's Joshua Johnson asking it.
Joshua Johnson, actually.
I thought he was pulling my leg because I actually
No.
saw him say that.
Actually, Joshua Johnson is a song written by Jim Craig. And I think it's fictitious, but what is interesting, it's for those of you who aren't...
Jim said he grew up in Sutton, Illinois.
We grew up in Sutton, Illinois, which is just south of Barrington. So it's interesting. But he said that it's a story about a blacksmith and how he was asked to be mayor of the town. And he really didn't want to be, but everybody wanted him to be, so he was. And he was just out of his element and everything like that. Things weren't working at all. And so what happened was to get away, to recalibrate himself, he would go back into the forge, and in the morning he would be there at the forge, being a blacksmith. So, and that was, I feel, he said, I'm just half a man without my forge and anvil and my hammer in my hand.
So the story goes full circle. So now we live in Caneville, and half a mile down the street from us is the oldest continuously running by one family blacksmith shop here. It's
Really?
Needham's. It's Needham's shop. They call it Needham's shop, but it's a blacksmith.
Since 1871.
Yeah, many generations.
Yeah.
Still working.
Still working.
That's amazing.
Not doing too many horses though.
No, I imagine not. I interviewed an old blacksmith when I was doing the folklore work in the 1980s. A guy named Homer Biedenbender.
Oh.
And he wasn't doing horseshoes, but he was fixing broken tractor pieces.
Exactly.
And, he could do anything with metal. And so,
Right, right.
he was 96 at the time, and he still worked until the day he died.
Wow.
And folks just loved him. He was just like a local institution.
That's what they told us in town. They said, he can weld or fix anything for you there. But
Yeah.
don't expect him to do it for you at harvest time.
Right.
Oh, sure. Well, anybody that lives in rural America knows that.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, we got a lot of city slickers in this particular show.
We're not farmers. Yeah, we're not farmers. So, sorry.
So, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy, Chris?
Two main things. I've jumped headfirst into live streaming as a way, to keep sane by playing, because as well as I do, this is what we do. If we don't do it,
Exactly.
it just grates on us. Kind of like the, half a man without the blacksmith hammer and anvil thing.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I've been doing is restoring vintage guitars, and actually have sold about 11 or 12 since I think 3 last week. The little guitar I opened up the show last time with has now been sold to a friend of mine in Michigan. So
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know. We have a mutual friend in Michigan. I know.
yes, that's who I'm speaking of. But
he said that you've done exquisite work, and I've seen your work, and it is exquisite. It's
Buy
very
your
good.
guitar. Oh my
Well-
gosh, Tom, you got to sell one now.
She talks
you know-
to Jill all the time.
I believe there's something about bringing an old instrument back to life.
Oh yeah.
There's just a healing process involved that resonates to me personally. And
Right.
when I have been on the phone and the computer too long, or I have been trying to rehearse a part for hours, and I need to walk away, that's where I go. And it's a wonderful creative way to still do something and get my head out of whatever I'm in for a while.
And I've known you for a long time, Chris, and I know that you would be very, very good at that because you're very detail oriented. You really see those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And because I think you really like to do your research on those
Well, yeah.
instruments and things.
That's-
so.
Every one of them. It's like when I get a new old broken up, and I only buy the ones that are really badly damaged because those are the ones I can afford. But it's this.
right.
You get to open it up and you explore the puzzle and learn the stories of the instrument and who made it or how it was made and how come why it's broken. And
Yeah.
I mean it's like opening up a whole book. I love
So
it.
that first guitar you played, was that a Gibson or an Epiphone or what was it?
Actually, you don't remember this, but that is a guitar that you know. That is a Gibson Southern Jumbo.
Oh.
And very early in my career, it's probably late 40s.
Yeah.
I was touring, and I had a show in Chicago, and I had a school in Joliet. And the Chicago show was outdoors. I had that Gibson, and I had a Flint Hills Custom 12-string. And I'm playing outdoors on the 12-string, and the wind blows the Gibson out of the stand and broke the headstock off in the middle of the show. And at this point, I didn't know too many people in Chicago, but I knew you. And I called up, and I think I ended up talking to Joanne because you were out on the road.
Right.
The long and short is that Lee lent me his Bojo guitar,
The one I used tonight.
the one you used tonight. And I played that. Somewhere there's a shot of me at that school playing your Bojo.
Really?
But
I didn't remember
I
that.
actually brought this guitar, and here it is. I actually brought this out and played the opening song tonight for you, so I could share that story with you.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
and
so cool.
Rick Kramer. That's when I met Rick Kramer, and
Sure.
he did the
He did,
headstock
yeah.
repair.
Yeah, Rick's very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, we got another question. Gonna go for broke. Always wanted to ask you this. Your
Orion.
songs are so
Hi,
evocative.
Orion.
Have you ever considered doing a full musical akin to Once?
Well, Orion, I have not considered doing that yet. I did a long time ago think I probably should try and write a symphony. Probably a musical would be a lot easier.
And maybe Orion can help.
I
if
would
we ever
say,
get to
but
that,
you
yeah.
really need an actor's perspective, to be able to
Yeah.
blocking and that type of thing. I mean, you can put songs together, and in some regards, every concert that we do
Yeah.
is like a theater piece in a way, especially because I do so much talking and acting and that type of thing, Because sometimes the songs that I do were work songs, and so you have to act that out, kind of pantomime and that type of thing. So there's a little bit of that space, use of space. But
And
so
you were
maybe
one of the
Ryan,
early-
we can work together on that.
Lee, you were one of the early artists that I know that was actually putting together themed shows.
Right.
And that's I think that's a really powerful way to use music. And
who takes credit for that? Illinois Humanities Council.
Oh, absolutely. Illinois
Because-
Humanities Council.
They
Rhodes Scholars.
made so many of my shows because, well, what are you going to do this year? And I said, well,
Yeah.
okay, and
Well-
then it just feeds on itself.
And for those that aren't aware of what we're talking about, this is a program through the Illinois Humanities Council that allows humanities-based performers such as Lee and I. These are artists that have
Right.
content about the music above and beyond just standing there singing, to present performances or lectures or however people present. In our case, it's musical.
Right.
At a radically reduced rate to not-for-profit organizations. So virtually every one of the theater style shows I do was created for Rhodes Scholars and then road tested and developed through them, which is such
Sure.
a priceless thing, having the opportunity to work it and start to build
And it's such a good program for communities downstate and in rural communities who couldn't really afford bringing an artist, even a folk singer in normally. So
Yeah. So for not-for-profit organizations that are interested in having one of the speakers, they have to go through the list of offerings. It's on the Illinois Humanities Council's website. But then they only pay $75.
Right.
And Illinois Humanities Council pays all of the other expenses to bring Lee or me or any of a number of
Right.
people on that roster down.
now that, of course, is when live shows happen again.
Actually, they're doing live streams right now.
Are they? Oh, okay.
They are sponsoring live streams, and you and I should talk because I can tell you the ins and outs
Cool.
of that.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. What else do we have? Do we have some more questions from anybody here that we
Hi,
have not?
Kim. Hi, Earl.
Yeah. So happy to
Hi,
see
Bob. Hi,
folks.
Susan.
Hi, Frank.
And I love to find out where you're from. If
Hi,
there's some
Katrin.
people from far away, by all means, jump on there in the chat and say hi.
Yeah.
So
you were talking. You go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just.
You were talking about finding a refuge in those instruments. That's what
yeah.
I do when I'm doing woodworking myself.
I
and it's-
completely understand that.
it's really kind of a lot of fun. You get away from the average everyday experience, and sometimes I'll relate this story. I've worked in a lot of different types of woods. Of course, you got your oak and you got maple and the great domestic woods. Cherry is a beautiful wood.
Oh yeah,
But
gorgeous.
I've also worked in some exotic like Macassar ebony and purple heart and Paduke and Babenga and things like that.
Yep.
And I came across this board at an auction and bought it, and it was very, very striking board. It was just very, very striking. It was striped like crazy. It was black and kind of cream colored, and it was zebra wood.
Oh, nice.
And so I made a stand out of it. But the first time I cut into it, I couldn't help but laugh and laugh and laugh, because the way the wood smelled, was like a barnyard. Like I was in the middle of a herd of zebras. I couldn't. It was unbelievable. It was really
That's
very
really
funny.
why they call it zebra wood.
I'll tell you, it was really something else. So
David, I'm gonna take you.
Hey, we got another question here.
yeah.
My wife just reminded me nearly 17 years ago. She thinks it was a Lee/Chris show at the old
Yes, it
Kendallville
was.
venue. I remember
Yeah.
that
Was
one.
it
Yeah.
2004?
A hometown
the
concert.
that Chris was at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
and Lee,
Just a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was 2004.
Yeah.
Lee was really sick.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because we did the show, and then there was the after thing at your house.
Yep.
And you kind of had to hang out for about 10 minutes and then disappear.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
But
so that was a
but
great
you know
show.
what's really interesting, Chris? There are still people talking about that show, and I'm not just
Oh,
saying
wow.
that. There are still people saying that what a great show because we played so well together. You know.
Yeah.
and-
The year you got sick?
yeah. Well, that was one of them.
Well, and that was the time when I realized, I forget what, I think it was probably Tom Curtin, because he's the troublemaker. He probably, I think he called out for a song I hadn't played in a long time, and I
Sure.
did it, but, there's a middle break when I couldn't do an instrumental, and you jumped in, and you started, and you
okay.
played. And afterwards you were mentioning that you'd been an electric guitar player. So that was the
Yeah,
first time I
sure.
realized that.
Well, that's fun. You know.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, that was a fun show. I do remember that.
Well,
Huh.
you know, time flies, huh?
2004.
Oh, yeah.
Still got your long-term memory.
Just a
That's
couple
good.
of years ago, I'm sure, Lee. That's all it was.
You know.
So I know you're doing guitar stands and you're still selling those to
Yeah.
folks, right?
Yeah.
Are there other items that you're making that people can
Well-
look at or buy?
What's interesting is in September, somebody came into one of the stores that I've been teaching at Tobias Music and Downers, and they said, "Could he make one of those things for ukulele?"
Oh, yeah.
And so I did.
He put it in the washing machine.
And basically, when it came out, it just looked like it had been in the dryer too long. You know, it's what I call the tabletop.
It's cute.
And I think I've sold 8 since then.
Nice.
You know? And it's just and basically because I can use material that is just
Yeah,
small
scrap pieces.
smaller amounts. And then somebody 4 weeks ago said, "Can you make one for a banjo?" I said, "Well, I think the one that I make is fine." And so he went over to a store in Evanston, Guitar Works, and it didn't really work as well as he would like. So I said, "Sure, I can make another one." Well, and so I made one for him, and then I've made about 8 since, almost all
Nice.
sold. So and what you were talking about was the creative aspect of it. Mm-hmm. You got to get the geometry right
Oh, yeah.
for it to hold, you know. And so that's you just step out of your element and go into somewhere else. And we got a friend of mine who loves her guitar stand, and her guitar stand, this is Kim, is made out of bird's eye maple.
Oh, nice. Now, I always remember that you used walnut. So you're branching out and using different woods now?
I use walnut, hickory. Hickory's a beautiful wood.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
tell him that. He's Hickory.
Cherry,
The trees will get scared.
I don't care.
cherry, and red oak. I prefer red oak to white. And then sapele,
Babinga.
Yep.
Babinga. I have used.
Paduke.
I've made koa and Paduke. Paduke is kind of like a poor man's cocobolo. It's just
Yeah.
stunning. You know,
Purple
Yeah.
heart.
purple
Bright
heart.
red, isn't it?
Well, when you put the oil finish on it, it gets to be almost like a burgundy. It's about it's almost the color that the wine you're going to drink later on tonight.
Actually, I have to go out and get that wine yet. So
Oh.
but I'll make sure I get one that looks like Paduke. I've got some in the basement I can compare it to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. This has been a ball. I've had such a good time getting to just catch up and visit with you folks.
Face to face is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally we would wind up the show by having Lee do one more song, but on Christmas it's always been a tradition that I finish the show with everybody that is on the show singing "Silent Night" together.
Cool.
So I'm going to do that. I want to send that out to my friend Steve Ensley, who is usually on stage with me.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
who it was,
right.
Steve. Yeah.
And I don't know that you can actually sing along. There's a time lag thing in these live things, but those of you that are listening at home, by all means, please jump in here and sing. I was singing with Lee, by the way, during the show. That's why my mic is always muted.
Yeah.
Oh, and before I forget, 2 other things. I want to thank the Illinois Arts Council and the Two Rivers Arts Council that are responsible for a small grant to keep us alive and let us do this very thing that we're doing, move to a new medium. And then I also want to tell you our next concert is in January. I believe it's the 16th, but I don't really. There we go. Thank you, Brandon. It is January the 16th, And we are going to be featuring one of the great
Scott
masters
Ainsley.
of the acoustic slide guitar, Scott Ainsley.
Yeah.
So I am really excited about this. This guy is the real deal.
He is.
He's the only person I know that actually knows how to play a diddly boat.
Diddley bow, yeah.
Yeah, and I fake it to show school kids the concept, but he actually plays music on it. So
he does.
that's going to be a wonderful show. I hope you can join us for that one.
Okay,
So-
one last quick thing. Joshua was asking if Lee's guitar stands are available on his website, and they are. Either that or send us an email,
Yep.
which is on the website.
Yeah, and Brandon,
Okay.
if you would throw up Lee's website, it's in the banners. That would be a great thing. And while he's doing that, there we go. So, a special thanks to Brandon O'Sullivan, who got us through this. No matter how hard we tried to sink it, he still kept bringing us through. All right, and I will leave you with this one. All of you, please join in any way you can. This is Silent Night, and a Merry Christmas to everyone. Safe and prosperous 2021, and let's get this year over with. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, silent night, holy night. Shepherds quake at the sight, shepherds quake at the sight. Glory streams from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing. Heavenly hosts sing. Hallelujah. Christ our Savior is born. Christ our Savior is Silent night, holy night. Silent night, holy night. Son of God loves pure light. Son of God loves pure light. Radiant beams, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus Lord, Jesus Lord, at thy birth, Jesus Lord, at thy birth. All right, everybody hum it out while I play it one more time. Merry Christmas, everyone, and a safe, blessed, and prosperous 2021. Good night, friends.